What made you decide to go to the Swedish Parliament?
Well, it started with a couple of youth in the United States refused to go to school because of the school shootings. And then someone I knew said, what if children did that for the climate? And then I thought that was a good idea, that maybe it would make a difference. And then I tried to bring people with me, but no one was really interested, so I had to do it alone.
And
but
so you just...
The second day, people started joining me.
Why climate change? Why is that so important to you?
Because what we do now, future generations can't undo in the future.
So how have you changed your life once you started to learn about climate change?
I personally have stopped flying. I have stopped eating meat and dairy.
So let's take these one at a time. You stopped flying, so how did you get here to Poland? You live in Sweden.
Yeah, we went here by electrical car.
How long did it take you to drive here?
2 days, including one night at a hotel.
Mm-hmm. And why did you stop eating meat?
Both of ethical reasons and by ecological reasons.
And what else have you done?
I have a shop stop. It means that you don't buy new things, unless it's absolutely necessary.
Mm-hmm. Talk about what you're wearing, your sweatshirt today.
Oh, this is a shirt from Hundar utan hem, Dogs Without Home, a Swedish organization which give homeless dogs home.
Do you have dogs?
Yes, I have 2 dogs. One is from there.
How long have you studied the issue?
And I started reading about the climate crisis when I was maybe 9 years old. And the more I read about it, the more I understood it. And once you fully understand what it means, you can never go back.
So it's interesting, you are sitting in front of the Swedish Parliament every day for 3 weeks, considering most people think of Sweden as one of the most progressive when it comes to climate change.
Yeah, we have a reputation of being very, very green. But Sweden is one of the top 10 countries in the world with the highest ecological footprints per capita. And we have very high emissions per capita. And so we are not a role model.
The emissions have actually gone up in the last year?
Yeah, we have just moved them overseas. Our actual emissions in the country may have reduced, but we have just moved our emissions overseas. We let other countries produce the stuff we consume.
What did the Swedish parliamentarians say as they would pass you each day, going up the stairs and down the stairs?
Most of them ignored me, and then some of them came up to me and said that you're doing a good job, but very few.
She made us realize that we were these parents, standing up for human rights and refugees and right and wrong and all these things, and we were really fighting for that. And then she said, whose human rights are you standing up for? When my wife, for instance, went to Japan to make concerts and being on Japanese TV, very important. It's a good reason to travel across the world to do that. But when she got home, Greta sort of worked out how many tons of carbon dioxide she had spent on that, and how many people's carbon budget that was, living in West Africa, for instance. So she basically, confronted us with that. Whose human rights are you standing up for? When you are draining the world's, resources, a functioning atmosphere, for instance, and so we basically realized in the end, after a couple of years of her going on about it, that we had to change. We had to stop doing these things. And
so, what made you decide to start eating again and start talking, Greta?
I mean, I guess I thought that I could do so much with my life. And what is the point of feeling like this when I could actually do something good? And so, yeah.
And how has it changed the way you parent, Svante?
Well, it changed. My wife she gave up her international opera career, and she's working out of Sweden now instead, and that was a big change for us. And obviously it's changed a great many other sort of things. I had to go vegan, first of all vegetarian, then I had to go vegan. But I was so amazed that I wasn't aware of it, because I was, very aware. I was reading all the papers and stuff, and I just didn't realize where we were at. Yeah.
What did it mean to you that your parents became vegan? Is your mother also vegan, Greta?
Yeah, she tries.
You're teaching her. So what did that mean to you, how you changed your parents?
I mean, that meant that they were actually listening to what I was saying. And I mean, that was good to feel that someone is listening.
And she sat for over 2 weeks outside of the Swedish parliament until they were so embarrassed by her presence, if I understand it right, that they gave her a fine. She was attracting so much attention from the press that they made her move across that bridge off of the island in which the Swedish parliament is located. And she's still out there now every Friday, 30 seasons.
Do you think there is not so much value in doing things based around social media and messages at conferences to bring people's voices in, or the only way is direct action, such as school strikes, that can make a difference?
I think that we need both, but I thought why I striked is because I thought there was not enough direct action. But of course we need both.
Lady third row in from the right, who's had her hand up for a bit, thank you.
Thank you, Greta. You're a great inspiration to all of us. What is your message to the big business people who say there's really no problem because we can fix this problem with geoengineering, which means interfering with the planet's planetary mechanisms, the ocean, the weather, the clouds, and so on? What do you children think about that?
I think that it's very scary because we don't know very much about it. Why do we have to do that? Why can't we just reduce and stop the emissions? Is that so hard? And I think that you can say that it's like one person who is dying and says, I'm not going to have an operation, I'm going to wait. In the future there might be a magic pill that I can take. It's very risky. When I was about 8 years old, I first heard about something called climate change or global warming. Apparently that was something humans had created by our way of living. I was told to turn off the lights to save energy and to recycle paper to save resources. If burning fossil fuels was so bad that it threatened our very existence, how could we just continue like before? Why were there no restrictions? Why wasn't it made illegal? To me, that did not add up. It was too unreal. So when I was 11, I became ill. I fell into depression. I stopped talking and I stopped eating. In 2 months, I lost about 10 kilos of weight. Later on, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, OCD, and selective mutism. That basically means I only speak when I think it's necessary. Now was one of those moments. For those of us who are on the spectrum, almost everything is black or white. We aren't very good at lying, and we usually don't enjoy participating in the social game that the rest of you seem so fond of. I think in many ways that we autistic are the normal ones, and the rest of the people are pretty strange. Especially when it comes to the sustainability crisis, where everyone keeps saying that climate change is an existential threat and the most important issue of all, and yet they just carry on like before. I don't understand that, because if the emissions have to stop, then we must stop the emissions. Because how can we expect countries like India or Nigeria to care about the climate crisis if we, who already have everything, don't care even a second about it or our actual commitments to the Paris Agreement? So, why are we not reducing our emissions? Why are they in fact still increasing? Are we knowingly causing a mass extinction? Are we evil? No, of course not. People keep doing what they do because the vast majority doesn't have a clue about the actual consequences of our everyday life. And they don't know the rapid changes required. We all think we know, and we all think everybody knows, but we don't. Because how could we? If there really was a crisis, and if this crisis was caused by our emissions, you would at least see some signs. Not just flooded cities, tens of thousands of dead people, and whole nations leveled to piles of torn down buildings. You would see some restrictions. What we do or don't do right now, me and my generation can't undo in the future. Some people say that I should be in school instead. Some people say that I should study to become a climate scientist so that I can solve the climate crisis. But the climate crisis has already been solved. We already have all the facts and solutions. All we have to do is to wake up and change. And why should I be studying for a future that soon will be no more, when no one is doing anything whatsoever to save that future? And what is the point of learning facts within the school system, when the most important facts given by the fine science of that same school system clearly means nothing to our politicians and our society? Some people say that Sweden is just a small country and that it doesn't matter what we do. But I think that if a few children can get headlines all over the world just by not going to school for a few weeks, imagine what we could all do together if we wanted to. Now we're almost at the end of my talk. And this is where people usually start talking about hope. Solar panels, wind power, circular economy, and so on. But I'm not going to do that. We've had 30 years of pep talking and selling positive ideas. And I'm sorry, but it doesn't work. Because if it would have, the emissions would have gone down by now. They haven't. And yes, we do need hope. Of course we do. But the one thing we need more than hope is action. Once we start to act, hope is everywhere. Today, we use 100 million barrels of oil every single day. There are no politics to change that. There are no rules to keep that oil in the ground. So we can't save the world by playing by the rules, because the rules have to be changed. Everything needs to change, and it has to start today. Thank you.